The night the storm hit, I watched my entire cornfield drown under a wall of brown water. The little blue bridge my granddaughter painted snapped in two like a toy. Years of sweat and soil gone in minutes because a woman with a pearl necklace and a clipboard decided my riverbank would look better as her fake lake. That was the moment I knew this wasn't just a fight over land, it was war. I didn't pick this river, the river picked me. After decades in the Army Corps of Engineers, after living out of duffel bags and barracks, I wanted roots. 13 acres on the Sycamore River outside a place called Redstone Crossing. Half farmland, half marsh, all alive. I planted corn, built irrigation ditches, even put up a small footbridge my granddaughter painted sky blue. We called it Susan's Bridge after her grandmother. That land wasn't just property, it was the first place I felt at peace. At first, the neighbors kept to themselves. HOA folks, nice lawns, garage doors that closed like vaults. Fine by me. I paid taxes, minded my crops, stayed out of their meetings. But then came the expansion lakeside villas, they called it. No lake, just oversized houses with synthetic grass. And then came her. Karen Jennings. Blonde bob, pearl necklace, tennis whites crisp like she'd stepped out of a catalog. She pulled up in her Tesla, glanced at my old Ford like it was leaking oil just for existing, and asked if I was the farmer. I own this land, I told her. She smiled the way people smile when they think they've already won. We're organizing a community initiative to beautify the waterfront. Perhaps you'd consider donating part of your parcel for a shared lake feature. I laughed, thought it was a joke. It wasn't. I said no, polite but firm. The river wasn't a prop for wine tastings. It was alive. Karen didn't like that. Signs went up calling the area River Commons like my land had suddenly become public. Volunteers with stakes and tape crept near my property line. Letters came community development initiatives, aquatic enhancement zones, legal jargon meant to scare. I documented, drew boundaries, filed polite complaints. They stepped back, for a while. Then, one morning I heard engines diesel too heavy for yard work. I followed the sound and found contractors digging a basin just past my fence. Karen stood there with her clipboard chirping about survey lines and expedited permits. They were funneling HOA runoff into what they called a lake, redirecting water toward my land. I demanded permits. "Oh, you'll get copies eventually," she said, then turned her back. The ground grew soggy, ditches backed up, silt appeared where it never had before. I knew enough hydrology to see what was coming. But the real gut punch Karen got herself, elected HOA president. George, the old president, stepped down and Karen slid right in with her baked scones and fake charm. Her crown jewel, Lake Serenity. Glossy pamphlets showed the community centerpiece stretching right to the river's edge a few dozen feet into my land labeled Undeveloped Buffer Zone. I stormed into their meeting. They tried to keep me out, but I wasn't leaving. Karen clicked through slides like a CEO of make-believe talking about amphitheaters and paddle boats. I stood asked if anyone had done a hydrological study, if they'd filed with the State Water Board. Karen smiled. "Mr. Rohr, you're not technically a voting member. Your concerns don't influence the board." People chuckled. She moved on. That night I walked my land flashlight in hand, found cheap sandbags near the slope, found water seeping through the unfinished dam. The basin was swelling and thunderstorm season was weeks away. My gut told me what my eyes already knew: this wasn't just arrogance, it was danger. The rains came hard like a wall tearing from the sky. I stayed up sandbagging, praying the pumps could keep up. At 3:11 a.m., I heard it a crack, then a roar. The dam folded like wet cardboard. The basin collapsed, a tidal surge ripping through my field. My corn, flattened pumps drowned Susan's bridge, torn away. By dawn, I stood knee-deep in mud where golden stalks had stood proud the day before. It wasn't just a bad season. It was erasure. I dragged myself to the HOA office. Karen appeared immaculate, folder in hand, voice calm as a Sunday sermon. "Mr. Rohr, I assume you're here about the storm damage." "The storm didn't do this," I told her. "Your dam did." She smiled thinly. Unprecedented rainfall. Act of God. I dropped my folder on her desk. Photos, soil, samples a signed statement from Leonard Price, an old Army buddy turned FEMA hydrologist. Proof of negligence. She glanced, shrugged. If you'd like to pursue this in court, use the proper channels. That night alone, I almost gave up. The crops were rotting. The HOA's lawyers accused me of harassment. For a moment, I thought maybe I was just an old man clinging to dirt no one else valued. Maybe I should sell, leave, disappear. But then Leonard called back. This basin violates half the water code. If you let this go, they'll do it again to someone else. So I didn't quit. I documented everything, built a case like a battle plan. Marisol Pena, a county investigator, came herself. She walked the ruins. Tapped the dam, muttered unbelievable. She didn't say I was exaggerating. She said, "This is serious." For the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't crazy. Then came the second storm. HOA workers were out in the rain redirecting water away from their manicured lawns straight into my lowest fields. I screamed at them, begged them to stop. They hesitated, but the damage was already done. By midnight, the slope collapsed, benches and observation decks sliding into the flood. Sirens wailed. Redstone Crossing itself had to be evacuated. And there was Karen, barefoot drenched, yelling at firefighters as if she were the victim. Reporters showed up. I handed them a flash drive with every record, every timestamp. Channel 6 aired it all, the dam, the permits, the collapse. They cut to me standing in my ruined field, voice low. I told them this would happen. They didn't listen. The fallout hit fast. State investigators confirmed forged permits, fake contractor stamps. Neighbors turned class action suits piled up. Karen vanished, her house put on the market with a cheery flyer, charming riverside retreat. Motivated seller. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because her empire had collapsed into mud. Court followed. The HOA's lawyer painted me as hostile, resistant to progress. Then, Sophia Rios, my attorney, read Karen's own email aloud. Roar's complaints are a bluff. No one checks those permits unless someone dies. And who's going to die from a little water? The room went silent. Experts testified, evidence stacked. Marisol read violations like a drumbeat. Fraud, negligence, forged permits. Every corner they cut laid bare. The judge ruled compensatory damages for me, punitive fines for the HOA, referral to the Attorney General for criminal charges. Karen resigned in disgrace, disappeared under a cloud of investigations. I didn't cheer. I didn't gloat. I stood at the edge of my field boots in mud, staring at what was left. My land was scarred, but my voice had held. And Karen, well, she learned what happens when you try to drown a man's life with a fake lake. The land remembers, and so do I. Lesson: when arrogance floods the truth, it always sinks.